This is the new dream prison. Every room is extremely dangerous, and if I make one mistake, I will die and the video will end. The first room seemed to be pretty simple. There was some basic parkour which appeared to take me to the next room. I hopped onto the starting platform and lava instantly filled the floor. I didn't know if it would continue to rise, so I hopped onto the next block just to be sure. Before I could even think, the lava once again rose. I knew that I had no time, so I began doing the parkour. I narrowly made it to the end without catching on fire, but still wasn't sure if I was safe yet. The next room was actually partially below the previous one, and if the room filled with just a little bit more lava, it would overflow and fill the next room. I realized that no matter what, I could only go forward, so I dropped into the water. In front of me, I found a sign that told me what I feared. I began looking around the room and noticed that one of the blocks in the roof was a target. I figured I needed to trigger it, but I had absolutely nothing that would do it. I continued searching the room and realized one of the blocks in the corners was actually a snow block. I knew that if I broke it, I would get some snowballs, which I could throw to trigger the target, so I began breaking it. But I quickly stopped myself because I remembered it only drops snowballs if it's broken by a shovel, which I didn't have. I looked in the last remaining spot in the room, which was the water pool, and I realized that the bottom block wasn't concrete, but instead a wool block. I broke it and below it found the shovel that I needed. I quickly grabbed it and then broke the snow. I aimed at the target and threw the snowball. I noticed a bucket fall from the roof and I grabbed it. I picked up the water and wasn't sure what I was supposed to do, but I knew I now had some time. I stopped and looked around and realized that a doorway had appeared on the upper side of the room. I used my water bucket to scale up the wall and enter the doorway, which led me to some stairs. Along the stairs, there was a sign that said to subscribe, which is exactly what you should be doing right now because we are super close to 10K. At the end of the stairway, I found myself in another room. There was an ominous sign that said it would be funny if the room blew up. I took that as a hint of what was to come, so I quickly began analyzing the room. The floor had lime blocks that snaked through it from one wall to the other. The only other things in the room were the sign and an item frame. I went up the frame and broke it, and nothing happened, so I replaced it. I then decided to put something in it, and as I rotated the shovel that I had placed in it, a hole opened up in the floor. It revealed a hopper with a cauldron inside of it. I grabbed it and broke the hopper to see if there was something below, but found nothing. I had no idea what I was supposed to do with the cauldron and knew I was running out of time, so I placed it at the end of the lime blocks. Nothing happened and I knew I couldn't pick it back up, so I thought I was done for. But I remembered that I had a water bucket, so I decided to empty it into the cauldron. When I did, I heard some pistons, and when I turned around, I realized a few things had opened up. One hole revealed a villager who was trading a button in exchange for an empty bucket. The other hole appeared to be the exit, but it was one block too high up, so I just placed my wool block to get up it. It led to some stairs which took me to a water elevator. I decided not to get in it because I probably wouldn't be able to come back. I went back to the previous room and decided to trade for the button because I figured I would need it. I then did one last search and found nothing, so I went up to the elevator and shot up. It took me to another room, and the first thing I noticed was a sign that read, "I smell rotten flesh." I had no idea what that meant and didn't really want to figure out either, so I began looking around. High up on one wall, there were two ladders that went into the roof. I saw no way to reach them, so I continued looking around. I noticed that there was a crawling tunnel, but didn't know what I was supposed to use to enter it. I continued looking around and found nothing, but when I went back to the entrance, I noticed that the trapdoor was holding the water back. I grabbed it because I knew I could use it to crawl. I entered the tunnel and at the end of it found a hopper with an ender pearl. I didn't know what I was supposed to use it for and still had no idea how to reach the ladders. As I was looking around, I accidentally ran into an invisible barrier. I hopped onto it and looked around and realized there was another. I jumped onto the next one and realized they were taking me to the ladders. I continued on, and when I made it to the ladders, I remembered the ender pearl phase glitch. When I did the glitch, I found myself on the outside of the prison. I was super high up and the water was too far away, so I couldn't jump down. I noticed some blocks to my right and jumped onto them. They led me around the prison and to another room. This room was pretty empty. There were just a few gold blocks. At first, I didn't know what I was supposed to do, but then I remembered I had gotten a button. I placed it on the first block, and when I pressed it, some pistons triggered and a hole quickly opened and closed. I didn't have enough time to see what was in it, so I pressed it again and this time found a hopper with a dirt block in it. I grabbed it and then did the next block. This one revealed another hopper, but this time it had a bed in it. I had no clue what I needed them for, so I went on to the last block. This time it opened a doorway to a room filled with lava. On the opposite side of the lava, there was a hole which I figured was where I was supposed to go. I searched under the lava and didn't find anything and had no clue what I was supposed to do. After a while, I just decided to use the bed and dirt block to try and make it across the lava. I placed the bed, jumped onto it, placed the dirt, and hopped onto it. I made it and went to the hole, and at the top of it found another target. Luckily, I had some snowballs left over from the previous target, so I threw one and hit it. The target caused the block below me to get moved, and I fell down in front of another water elevator. I went up it, and it took me to the inside of Dream's head. In front of me, there was an elytra and a sign that said the whole place would explode. I quickly grabbed and equipped the elytra, and then I ran over to the only other thing in the room and realized it was a TNT player launcher. I looked up and realized there was a hole in the roof that would allow me to get out. I stepped onto the center and made sure I was right in the middle, and then I turned it on. I was launched super high up, which allowed me to use the elytra to glide away.